Hibiki is a weak, useless high school kid, a textbook trash tier character who is currently burning all his stamina running a life-or-death marathon across an open field. The opponent chasing him from behind is a literal rabbit. My ego tells me I could probably one-tap it and send it to the lobby, but Hibiki's ego must have taken a vacation today, so he isn't about to take any risks. While sprinting for his life, Hibiki suddenly hears a strange voice echoing in his head. He thinks it's his own ego showing up for some mental counseling, but this voice is so lazy it doesn't even bother to do its job properly. Just as the rabbit is about to shish kebab Hibiki, he pulls off the most mindless clutch in history. He somehow tricks the rabbit into getting its head stuck in his bag, then trips and slams his entire weight down on it. The rabbit is instantly sent to the lobby. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, a fairy suddenly hears a report that a top-tier item has just dropped in the east. Her name is Emalia, and you can tell just by looking, she possesses an incredibly rich soul. Back to Hibiki, who is breathing a sigh of relief after surviving the failed assassination attempt. However, he's still shook because this place is totally alien. His phone has 0 bars, and strange voices keep echoing in his head. His top priority right now is gathering survival gear, but unfortunately, he never went camping as a kid, so he's completely clueless about starting a fire. On top of that, looking at the rabbit's corpse, he has no idea if the meat is edible or if he'll just get poisoned and die. While he's debating, the voice in his head pops up again, offering to verify the receipts. A floating screen appears confirming that horned rabbit meat is perfectly fine to eat. Hibiki doesn't understand why he's seeing floating screens, but if the meat is edible, he's stuffing it in his bag just in case he starts starving later. After shoving the rabbit's body into his backpack, Hibiki realizes the voice only speaks up to answer his questions, so he holds up the bag and asks, "What is this?" Just as expected, the system immediately answers that this is a bag made from a material that does not exist in this world. Knowing the trick now, he tries to have the system appraise the sky, but it brutally replies, "There's absolutely nothing up there to appraise." Hibiki then looks at the ground and asks again, only to receive a terrifying notification. He is currently standing on a level 273 labyrinth-devouring beast. He decides to ignore it to stay alive and then appraises himself. The status board pops up, Hibiki, 16 years old, Job, Professional Appraiser. It makes 0 sense because a few minutes ago, he was just a normal student. When he asks why he drifted here, the system stays silent because it is only a status support and isn't allowed to answer personal questions or engage in small talk. Looking at a bunch of strange skills, Hibiki tries to use Appraiser's Eye. He thinks he's about to become a top-tier carry protagonist, but the result is absolutely nothing. Luckily, no one is around to see that failed attempt at flexing. The system coldly tells him he's currently in the tutorial phase, though he has no idea what that means. He continues to try the world map skill. Instead of a high-end map, it shows a mess of squiggly lines. Looking closely, he realizes he's been wandering in circles like a headless chicken. After walking for a while, Hibiki finally finds a stone road. Because he gets too excited, he slips and faceplants into the dirt. Right then, the system notifies him that he has earned a title, the abandoned one from another world. Hearing that makes him want to just spiral into a depression. Hibiki quietly adds that depressing title to the list of things he can't understand. While staring at the notification board, a roar echoes right next to him, the kind that sends shivers down your spine. Even my ego would take a hike at this point, let alone Hibiki. The kid is basically cooked. Fortunately, a precision shot gams straight into the monster's head before it can turn him into salad. The lifesaver is Emalia. She approaches to check on him, but seeing Hibiki is fine, she wonders, "Wait, what are you doing in the middle of this labyrinth-devouring beast?" Hibiki is clueless until she explains that this monster camouflages as a meadow, tricking prey into walking in circles until they collapse from exhaustion before closing the deal. Hibiki is stunned. He was almost dinner for the green grass. When Hibiki mentions he was suddenly shipped here, Emalia is totally glitching. While she's trying to process that answer, Hibiki takes the chance to appraise her profile. Thanks to the system, he knows Emalia is a legit elf. But the real shocker is the number 56, staring back at him on the status board, even though she looks as young as a girl next door. Suddenly, Emalia pulls Hibiki's head into her chest for a hug, muttering how lucky it is that an innocent child wasn't swallowed by the monster. Being called a kid makes Hibiki feel awkward, so he asks how old she thinks he is. Looking at his short king height, Emalia guesses he's around 10, but when he says he's actually 16, she stands there frozen. In this world, 15 is considered an adult, so that comforting hug turned out to be a major social blunder. That night, they camp out and eat the horned rabbit. Hibiki takes the chance to ask where they are and learns it's the kingdom of Habarashia. Emalia doesn't understand why he's so uninformed, so Hibiki explains he's from Japan. Emalia has never heard that name, confirming that Hibiki has officially isekai'd to another world. Seeing his worry, she kindly offers to escort him to the nearest city to start a new life. When it's time to sleep, Emalia casts a warning spell, but Hibiki has already been knocked out for ages. She's surprised he's so trusting of a stranger, but looking at his clothes and zero knowledge base, she's certain this is the important person the spirits told her about. Before being transported, Hibiki was a 150 centimeters student who was unbeatable among his much taller peers. His friend Taiki was even jealous because that short stature seemed to be a magnet for older girls. Recalling his last day at school, just as he was about to enter class, a blinding light appeared and he ended up here. Hibiki wakes up, worrying if his friends are frantically looking for him. Not to mention his phone only has 12% battery left. Right then, a button pops off and hits him in the head because it couldn't contain Emalia's oversized personality. Hibiki curiously looks at some dust particles floating in the air and asks the system to appraise them. It turns out to be a magical barrier that Emalia set up. The existence of magic is solid proof that this isn't Earth. Hibiki knows he needs to find a way home as soon as possible, but first, he sits on a rock and decides to scan his status board one more time for any hack game abilities. Hibiki grills the system about what exactly a professional appraiser job is. The system explains briefly. This is a rare B-rank job that helps scan every bit of information about an opponent. But the bitter part is that it's useless in combat with zero skills to help him fight. The system reveals only that much and goes silent, leaving Hibiki wondering about the word temporary in his job title. He has to set it aside and wait for the day he can respec. The next morning, Emalia wakes up horrified to realize her soul has been exposed to the wind all night just because of a missing button. Right then, Hibiki wakes up too, making her face turn beet red as she turns away in total embarrassment. Hibiki honestly pulls out the button that hit him in the face last night to return it. Unfortunately, this action makes Emalia think he's some pervert who took advantage of her sleeping to steal a souvenir. The result? Hibiki takes a cracked punch straight to the face. After the misunderstanding is cleared up, Emalia frantically apologizes and gives Hibiki some medicine. Since it's a magic healing potion, he doesn't hold a grudge. The two continue their journey. Emalia calculates that once they exit the forest, it's only about a half-day trek to the city. That sounds like good news, but Hibiki is still worried because monsters are lurking everywhere. Emalia is confident. As long as I'm here, you can just stroll along. She's even surprised at how well this kid can sense monsters from a distance. Hibiki casually says it's because he sees them on the world map. Hearing those 3 words, Emalia nearly jumps out of her skin, because that is an ultra-rare AAA rank skill that every adventurer craves. Hibiki is still clueless, thinking it's just a normal GPS and red alert map. He even helpfully points out, look, there's a crystal horned rabbit nearby. Emalia's eyes light up like she found gold because one of those is worth over 200 gold coins. She grabs Hibiki, insisting he lead the way to bag this lucrative target immediately. Finally, they find the target. Hibiki uses appraisal and discovers a truth. While this rabbit has an incredibly fast, swift foot skill, its IQ is a bit low. Emalia uses wind magic to hide their scent and noise, but she knows the moment she makes a move, the rabbit will use its skill to escape. The only exception is when it's attacking. It can't use its escape skill then. Taking advantage of that weakness, Hibiki comes up with a big brain move, using himself as live bait to lure the rabbit into an attack. Emalia is still doubting the overly simple plan, but Hibiki insists, just trust me. During the action, Emalia sets up stone walls to surround it, forcing the rabbit to charge toward Hibiki, who is lying there performing as bait. Just as it lunges to gore him, Emalia pulls the trigger and snipes it right in the head. It was so easy she couldn't believe they just made a massive profit. Even though Emalia made the kill, thanks to his brilliant script writing, Hibiki also got a cut of the experience and leveled up like crazy. It's a total win-win for both. This is the end of episode 1. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next hilarious isekai moments. After a long-ass hike, Hibiki and Emalia finally roll into Raoul City. To keep Hibiki's weird school uniform from causing a scene, Emalia lets him borrow her hood for a low-key disguise until they can go shopping. She reminds him that once they sell that crystal rabbit horn, they'll have enough cash to get him some actual armor and weapons. When the topic of money comes up, Hibiki asks the most noob question ever, how much is 1 gold coin even worth? Emalia is straight up shook that he lacks such basic common sense. To save face, Hibiki pretends he's just trolling and secretly asks the system for the receipts. The system comes through instantly. 1 gold coin equals 10,000 yen. Doing the math, that horn is worth 200 gold coins, or a cool 2 million yen. No wonder Emalia was so hyped to hunt it down. She grabs Hibiki's face and tells him to stop acting so glitched in the city, or he's going to get scammed out of every cent. Even though she's right, that I'm the teacher, you're the student energy makes Hibiki a little salty. A bit later, they hit up the Adventurers Guild. The locals are surprised to see a solo player like Emalia actually rocking a teammate. They assume she's babysitting a kid, but she sets the record straight. Hibiki might be vertically challenged, but he's a full-grown adult. The adventurers offer a quick apology and wish him luck on his first day on the job. Emalia then drags Hibiki over to meet the receptionist, Jewel. Wanting to keep the bag secure, Emalia asks to negotiate the price in a private room. Jewel leads them to the office of the guild master, a guy named Balls. The second they walk in, Hibiki is absolutely mesmerized by Balls' peak physical condition. Balls realizes Hibiki is a fellow muscle worshipper, so he doesn't hesitate to strip off his coat to flex his gains. Hibiki is living his best life and immediately starts begging for the workout routine. Back in the day, Hibiki tried to grind at the gym to make up for his height, but his small frame meant his abs stayed in a loading screen forever. These two start geeking out over muscle mass so hard they completely forget why they're even there. Jewel and Emalia lose their patience and hit both of them with a cold water magic spell to snap them out of it. Once they've dried off, the real business starts. Emalia pulls out the horn, and Balls is impressed it's 3 times the size of a standard drop. He offers 400 gold coins on the spot. Hibiki thinks they've already won since Emalia was only hoping for 200, but he totally underestimated how much of a hustler she really is. Seeing the high opening bid, Emalia pulls a power move and demands 800 gold coins. Balls complains that it's over the budget cap, but Emalia plays her cards, buy it now, or she takes it to the capital. Faced with no choice, Balls coughs up 700 gold coins. Emalia is low-key vibrating with joy over the massive payday. She's convinced Hibiki will beg to party up with her now, meaning her lone wolf days are finally logged out. In her excitement, her button betrays her again, popping open and exposing way too much. Jewel immediately kicks Balls and Hibiki out so she can fix Amalia's wardrobe malfunction. While waiting outside, the system drops some good news. Hibiki's level 1 apprentice skill is ready for an upgrade. Still confused about what that skill even does, he asks the system for a breakdown. Turns out, it's a top-tier main character aura, basically a life insurance policy for people with 0 survival instincts. It was designed by God specifically to make sure Hibiki didn't get folded the second he spawned in. Just as he's questioning if this is legit, a different voice rings out in his head. It turns out God is actually spectating his life and keeping him protected. Without the big boss upstairs looking out for him, Hibiki would have been sent to the lobby a long time ago. However, God warns him that he needs to start pulling his own weight because this insurance policy isn't a permanent buff. A moment later, Emalia returns with her clothes properly stitched up. But there's a plot twist. She just received an urgent quest regarding her hometown. It's too important to decline, but way too dangerous to bring a cracked newbie like Hibiki along. Emalia apologizes, explaining she has to leave the city for a while. Meanwhile, in a dark cave, a mysterious female adventurer is searching for something but coming up empty-handed. It looks like the merchandise she's hunting hasn't spawned yet. Back in the city, Emalia nervously asks if Hibiki will be okay on his own. He insists he can handle it. Even though he's grateful she carried him this far, Hibiki doesn't want to be a permanent burden. He wants to learn how to survive. He plans to register as an adventurer since the guild has some low-level quests that even someone with 0 combat skills can finish. Emalia is relieved he has a plan. To make things easier, she lets him crash in the room she's currently renting. She hands him a map and tells him to find someone named Tanya for support once he arrives. Before they say goodbye, Hibiki tries to return her cloak, but she refuses. He feels a bit awkward about it, considering her buttons are basically her worst enemy, and she's the one who actually needs the coverage. Bringing up the wardrobe fail makes Emalia turn bright red. She turns and bolts, accidentally slamming right into that mysterious female adventurer from before. Emalia apologizes and runs off. A guard passing by asks why she's in such a rush, and when the mystery woman hears Emalia is heading to the elf village, she flashes a very sus smile. Claiming she's heading that way too, the mystery woman decides to tag along. Once Emalia is gone, Hibiki spends most of his time just sleeping. His phone is completely dead, so he's got 0 entertainment. He still has the money from the horn sale, but he has no clue how to get home, and God has gone ghost on him. He decides to ask Jewel if she knows anything about the other world. Unfortunately, in this universe, that phrase has a very adult vibe. Jewel blushes and points him toward the red light district, leaving Hibiki completely stuck in a loading screen over the massive misunderstanding. Terrified of catching unwanted heat, Hibiki has been rotting in his room lately, but you can only hide from reality for so long. His landlady, Tanya, finally bangs on the door because he's been skipping breakfast and lunch like he's on some accidental strike. After convincing her he's not actually glitching, Hibiki realizes his mountain of cash is starting to look like a molehill. It's time to get a job. He asks the system to pull up his stats to see what he's actually good for. After staring at the numbers and still having no clue if he's a god or a scrub, he asks his virtual assistant for a reality check. The system doesn't sugarcoat it with his current stats. He's basically premium cannon fodder. Fighting solo is a one-way ticket to getting folded. Accepting that he's not exactly a frontline tank, Hibiki checks if his skill tree has anything to carry him. He finds a skill called Babe Magnet but has 0 clue how to trigger it. On top of that, he's got contract in medicine. Thinking medicine sounds like a solid career move, he asks for details. The system drops a bombshell. This skill flash fries 7 years of medical school directly into his brain. The catch: once the download starts, there's no cancel button, and the sheer volume of data is going to take a hot minute. Despite the scary as hell vibes, Hibiki decides to send it. Immediately, a massive medical tome manifests, and the brain-stuffing sequence begins. It's way more painful than Hibiki bargained for. A few days later, once the upload hits 100%, he's absolutely drained from the forced fast and 0 sleep. He heads out to clear his head, grabs a decent meal, and finally gears up with some adventurer armor and tools. Hibiki realizes grinding skills in this world is way harder than the tutorial suggested, but the system comforts him by saying not every skill requires a painful book download. Ever since his apprentice skill leveled up, the system has become much more talkative and low-key friendly. Hibiki decides to name the system Sapo, and it seems to vibe with the new handle. He heads back to the guild to find some easy mode quests. Right then, the same adventurer squad he met on day 1 bursts in, frantically carrying a teammate who's in bad shape. This guy is missing an arm and a leg, bleeding out fast. It's clear he's about to log out. If Big Uncle Balls were here, they might have a chance, but Jewel says he's out of the office. Others try spamming healing magic, but it's doing absolutely nothing. Seeing the situation go south, Hibiki decides it's time to verify the receipts on his new medical knowledge. The group has no choice but to let him cook. After running a diagnostic, Sapo reports that the guy was hit by deer venom, which prevents blood clotting. He's got about 5 minutes before he's sent to the lobby. The only way to save him is a high regen and high detox combo. Small problem, this combo costs 600 MP, and Hibiki is currently sitting at a pathetic 56. When his face goes pale, the group panics. Hibiki keeps it 100, he knows the cure, but his mana bar is empty. He asks if anyone else can cast those spells, but nobody has those top-tier skills. At the 11th hour, Sapo suggests using the contract skill to create a mana transfer link with the people nearby. The only requirement, everyone has to opt in. Without hesitation, Hibiki screams at the crowd to dump their energy into him to save their homie. Since it's a matter of life or death, the squad agrees instantly. Hibiki gets a massive surge of power, but he's still nearly 200 points short. Seeing the clock ticking, Jewel steps up and volunteers to transfer the rest of her mana to bridge the gap. The moment his MP hits the mark, Hibiki dumps everything into the healing combo. A literal miracle happens, the adventurer's severed limbs start regenerating, pulling him back from the edge of the grave. However, the massive MP dump leaves Hibiki completely spent, and he collapses on the spot. A while later, he wakes up on a sofa in the meeting room. Seeing his level has absolutely skyrocketed after that save, he starts doing a goofy-ass victory dance. Mid-celebration, he realizes Jewel is right there, watching the whole cringy performance. Talk about a total vibe check. Jewel gives him a heartfelt thanks for saving her brother. Hibiki is shocked to find out Jade is her kin but stays humble, saying he's just glad he could help. Jewel reveals she's slapped a gag order on everyone so today's events stay low-key. When a confused Hibiki asks why, she explains that being able to cast both high regen and high detox is incredibly rare. If word gets out, vultures will definitely try to exploit him for profit. She advises him to join a party or hire some muscle as soon as possible, since his combat stats are still non-existent. Meanwhile, deep in a dungeon, a high-level werewolf makes a cool guy entrance. Judging by his aura, this guy looks like the perfect candidate for the bodyguard position Hibiki desperately needs. Episode 2 ends here. Don't forget to sub to the channel so you don't miss Hibiki's next cracked adventures.